Good morning all, I am Harry Charalambous and I'll be presenting the new exclusive features on Trading Edge Dynamics this morning. The presentation should take approximately 1 hour. If you have to go, just leave us and we'll try to get you the recording so you can see the full webinar. This is our very first live webinar and we're relying on technology, and we spent the last 2 or 3 weeks testing different technologies. We finally got it together, and Murphy's Law, we're up till early hours of this morning as we had some failures on the connection. So hopefully everything will go without a hitch this morning. So we've done everything we can. We're just in the hands of technology. Okay, just so you know, we're live, and for those of you that have attended the local meetings in Adelaide and you know me well, for those who haven't, I'll put my little mugshot here so you can see me. I won't leave it there for long because it's taking some bandwidth which we need to ensure that we don't lose our connections. So welcome again to those people who just popped online. First of all, we have to talk about our disclaimer. We are licensed to provide general advice, but we do not provide any personal advice. Make sure that we have the disclaimer on the screen. Your personal considerations have not been taken into account. Past performance may not be a reliable indicator of any future performance, so please read our full terms and conditions when you go on our site before you sign in. Let me take my mugshot away here and then we'll get started. Okay, one of the key points about T.E.D is to provide quick and easy access to stocks of interest, and we use filtering and we use scanning features to arrive at those. We rely entirely on technical analysis of the price movement to provide us the direction of the trend, and I'm going to demonstrate to you today how we build a list of stocks of interest using these features. We will look at the search, filter, sort group. I'm not sure if we have enough time to look at the scanning tools. We have a lot of new people online as well as some members. Just bear with us, we may be covering some more ground where people have seen this before, but I try to give you some new tips to make it easier for you. We will look at the Editor's charts and we cover the new 6 categories that we have introduced under our new features, and we'll explain how to use these categories to find trading opportunities. And we'll look at the 2 specific categories of Editor's Select Trades, which are reserved for specifically selected stocks from the scans we do weekly and represent the high probability trades opportunities. And we'll look at those and demonstrate how we arrive at them and how to use them. And the last time on the list for today is we want to look at the stocks that we've closed in the last week and the stocks that we've opened and what's new for this week. So we'll look at those in detail and we'll show you how we arrive at those. Things I want to clarify for both our members and the new viewers is that a bull and bear alerts must not be interpreted as a buy and sell signal. They can be used in that way, but they actually represent a change of a trend, and they must be considered along with other factors in our decision making. We have done a lot of tests where we have validated the strategies and the alerts using a backtesting facility, and we do know they can work in that way, but we strongly advise that you've got to look at other factors, and we'll cover some of those factors before you embark into trading. We won't be looking at the simulation testing in this particular one, won't have time to do that, but this is another powerful tool and feature that we provide in a platform. Let's look at the other factors that we need to consider before we actually start looking at some of these details, and then we'll go straight on the charts after this. I guess we've got to look at overall market conditions, taking into account the trends and the cycles of the market, risks, and both economic and geopolitical factors. We can achieve better results by taking profits and cutting our losses when the market sector's trend changes. It is not wise to stay in the markets when the markets are going in a negative direction. But having said that, an early entry and exit is vital, so we need the tools to identify these early turning points. So we look at the indexes and the major sectors to have a look at those points before we select stocks within those sectors. Some other general considerations that we need to address in our trades, so we can identify trades that better suit our needs, are factors such as liquidity, volatility, risk and reward ratios, and position sizing. We're not going to cover these today. We've covered them before in some of our meetings, and we do have some articles in our learning center which cover these elements. But again, they're very vital to ensure that our trades are successful. And lastly, we'll look at the individual stock trends, directions, and most importantly, we look at how we predetermine the actual values for entry and exit points. We recommend strongly that both your entry, your stop loss exit, and your profit exit are worked out before we get into the trades. And that is what select trades do represent. From here, we'll take you to a platform, and I'll bring that on board. And we're in a demo mode. We're in the dashboard, and just highlight a few points. Actually, I will sign in, log out, and sign in again, just for those that haven't seen this before. We sign in, we accept the conditions, and we're straight into the dashboard. Highlight some areas here. We so for those who haven't seen this before, we on the top right hand corner we publish dates that some of the sectors in the platform have been updated. So the editors charts and T.E.D charts have been updated as of the 3rd of June. Any new announcements are in this sector. And as we go to the bottom part, we can see a watch list. At the moment, we only have one watch list in demonstration, but we can have up to 10 watch lists. Then we can see the stocks that are 14 stocks that are triggered in a bearish mode, and the ones that are triggered in the bullish mode. Let me just clear that so we can then close that. So we can then see that we have some stocks in there in each category. The other part of this overall view that we see of the market before we go into individual things is to show us how the major indices and sectors are performing. And it's a good idea to look at those before you embark into trading. So let's have a look at what I normally do. I look at the two major indices in the Australian market, ASX 200 and the All Ordinaries, both year to date and month to date. And I compare the major sectors as far as underperformance or overperformance from those datums. So as you can see, the telecommunications have been way underperforming, and I guess looking at that on a year-to-date basis, we have the rates been underperforming. Anything under 7 to 8%, I guess, is an underperformance. And if we look at the month-to-date sectors, we're looking for anything below -1 or 2. So we have the financials way underperforming in the last month with a -7%. And maybe we should highlight the performance sectors just so we can get a picture. On a yearly basis, we have +24 for the utilities. I guess we're looking for the best performers. And we have material resources well above market, and the energy sector as well. And on a month basis, I guess anything that is positive, we have the industrials been doing well, the resources and the materials continue to do well, although we had some, I guess that trend cannot continue for forever, so there's some consolidation of those sectors. And I guess that's how I consider which sectors that I'm going to look at. I certainly would be avoiding financials in my evaluations right now with that sort of performance, I will be looking at the sectors that had a bad run over the years, such as telecommunications, for opportunities, and we're looking at that sector, and that should get a blue circle, because that's actually starting to look positive. Maybe not every single stock in that sector, but some of those have, and so is the energy. Okay, having looked at those, and this gives us a bit of an overview of where the market is at the moment. We'll look at the charts very shortly. We close that. Again, you can look at the internationals, and you can get a bit of a picture of the major indices. But let's go to our main watch list down here, and if we open that, that is the default watch list that everyone gets. So in this default watch list, we highlight the major indices, and we highlight the major sectors and major stocks. So I just want to show you what the graphs look like. So we view a chart by right-clicking on the particular code that we want to look at. Let's see how technology works for us today. Okay, we're here, and we're still loading. Here we go, and we are looking at the Dow Jones Industrial, and we're looking at a basic graph. That's a new user will see when they come in. We're showing the actual price action, with the dark blue line being the DMA, which is the dynamic moving average, which a lot of information relies upon. If your chart shows the red lines, the pivot points as well, you may want to leave them on there. But if it is too much for you to, let me just see. Here we go, and we now have the additional lines in there. The interaction of those lines are very important to the algorithms that drive the platform, but you may not want to wish those. They might be a little bit confusing, so we'll take them off for now, and we'll go back to the basic. So I guess one of the things that we've added is the editor's charts. You can toggle between your chart and the editor's charts by clicking on this toggle box at the top, and we should arrive a bit slow this morning. Here we go. I guess what the editor's charts will show us is we can move this chart anywhere we want to go. We can bring it down a bit. We can see where the last bullish signal was given. We can see the trends. We can see the consolidation areas, and we can see right now that we are just breaking up from this resistance in red dotted line. The supports are shown in blue dotted lines, and the trends are shown diagonally in blue or red, depending if they are uptrends or downtrends. So I guess what this picture shows us from the basic chart is the range between support resistance that something is trading at and the direction, whether it's consolidation going sideways, or once we break past resistance, we hit an uptrend. We are following this line here. Should have been getting pop-ups happening. Okay, so having looked at that chart, we can maybe look at a couple more, and maybe some of the sectors. We looked at the S&P 500. It should be a very similar picture. I guess you can access your watch list from here and the contents of your watch list once you're in the charts. And just another thing that someone asked me the other day, very simple things. If you want to see a full page, you just click on the button here, and I guess the in this mode is a little bit different. Your settings, if you want to do something with a particular line, you may have to click twice to do something, to bring your settings, rather than right click. I think it works a little bit different. Here we are. There we go. That brings it the setting box by double clicking. We close that, and back to a smaller chart so we can see our full menu on the top. So again, editor's charts for the S&P 500, and let's see what that brings us. We must have a few people online because it is running a little bit slower than normal this morning. And Oh, sorry, we didn't quite get. We had to click again. Okay, back to Editor's charts again. So sorry for the wait. And again, we can see the resistance and support lines. You can actually expand by holding the axis. You can actually expand the graph in the vertical position. You can move it left or right, or you can scroll your mouse for getting more data points. I guess there's the bridge to the bearish side. It didn't last long. We're back into bullish territory with the blue arrow, which is also indicated down the bottom here by those tabs to show you at what date those signals were given. As you can see, the blue is out of screen here, so if you want to bring it out of screen, you just move the axis upwards and you can see the whole graph. Okay, the bullish line still for the S&P 500, breaking to the upside, forming new highs. We have no measuring stick beyond that, so we'll just have to wait and see where that forms a higher high or whether it comes back below these levels. Certainly, for the market to turn negative, it's got to be come back below this resistance and then finally breach the support for it to turn negative. So that's the trend line, and that's the final support line. So breaching the trend line can still keep the trend intact if it's brief, but breaching the support line, it's a definite change of trend. And as you can see, our measuring stick is down here in the dark blue line of the DMA. The other lines you see on the screen, are EMA lines. Some I prefer to have them on all my charts because it gives me a good idea of the movement when those lines converge or diverge. In the case of a bullish trend, they're diverging from this position here, and it's been positive since that time. Okay, we'll look at a couple more here. In the Australian market, let's look at the All Ordinaries. Okay, and that's a simple chart. And again, if you want to make it a bit more meaningful, you can look at our Editor's charts. They're available to everyone now in all these sectors, and we'll discuss them shortly. And what we have here is we have some resistance. We've tested this resistance on 2 occasions, and we have an uptrend going up. This bridge here, and I'll highlight it for everyone. This bridge here, this was the US presidential elections, and I guess there was some uncertainty just before the market reversed the day after to get back above that line and follow the trend. So those things out of the norm do happen from time to time, and I guess if you're prepared, you can take advantage of those if you're confident in what you're doing. Let's just very briefly look at some of these sectors that might be of interest to some of our viewers. I guess we looked at the telecommunications sector before, and we'll look at it very briefly here. And we go to Editor's charts, and what they're telling us, they're giving us a range again. We're looking at the market bottoming out here, not breaching these lines so far. We have some resistance lines shown at different levels. We're certainly not in a buying zone. A DMA line, the dark blue indicator, is still sitting above a current price action, and I guess in the next, I guess if we look forward between now and the next 4 or 5 weeks, I guess 2 things can happen. This price action will meet or cross the blue line, or the opposite will happen, and it will breach this support line and will form new lows. So I guess we just have to wait and see which way direction it goes. I guess if we break the dark blue line, then it will be very bullish. If we break the dotted line on support, it will be bearish again. I guess I like looking at stocks that have been beaten down. It might not be everybody's choice, but I guess I see that once they form a bottom, there's a much bigger upside, and they tend to come up in some of our scans because they give us a much higher reward to risk ratios. Okay, look at a couple more. Let's look at I guess the materials, and I guess to make them a bit more meaningful, again we turn on Editor's charts, and what have we got here? We've got materials trending up. support line down here, some minor support lines in dotted lines down here, some minor support above a DMA and a major resistance at the top. I guess so. From the sector point of view, it's been bullish for some time. We breached the bullish line trend here, and it's a matter of whether this minor support holds or whether it comes down to the major support, or again whether we retest the major resistance, I guess. So we certainly be bearish below this point, below this dotted line, and the market is trending sideways since breaching the uptrend. I guess you can't trade the market all the time, but the opportunities we're looking is the initiation of the uptrends. At this point where the market sits, it doesn't offer tradable opportunities if we look at this sector at the moment, because it's trying to make up its mind which direction it's going to follow. Okay, let's look at the financials. Again, a sector that's done well for some time. Put the editors charts again. And having done well, we've reached some resistance, and I guess there is no trend line here, but we've got some support lines, and we're just trying to test at which level these support lines hold. So that's just the information about the index. I guess you can see that at times when the market dives, and our alerts are showing you that, and at the time the market is bullish, and they show you that again. If you stay in the market and you don't follow the cycles in and out, then you'll get the net result between the differences. If you follow the cycles, you get, I guess, and that's my preferred method of trading, is to get out of the markets when they become bearish, so I do not extend my losses and only take trades in the positive. We don't know how long those trades will run, but we do know they're in a positive mode. As long as they stay in a positive mode, we do stay in those trades. Okay, so having seen the financials, I guess we've seen enough of this sector. Let me go back to our major watch list, and from here I will just take you to the Explorer, where we can search the whole market. So in Explorer we have 4 sectors: equities, indices, ETFs, and international indices. We're looking at the equities, and let me take the filter out that I had in there, and we have a total of 1900. Let me just highlight that to everybody. We have a total of 1900 assets in this list. So if we scroll down this list, we're going to continue to see stocks. I'll take my market out, and we'll continue to see stocks. And what we're looking for is to filter this list to something that makes some sense. Every column in this page is filterable and sortable. The numeric columns have a filter as shown by the small icon on the right hand side. So if we want to get this list down, one of my favorite filters, and I'll show you a few now, is the liquidity column. So I will set up a greater or equal to liquidity of 0.5, which represents millions of dollars traded per day. So having done that, put the filter on, my assets are down to 327 out of 1900. And we'll do a few more filters here to get, we'll take the bearish alerts off, and we filter that column. I guess I should perhaps explain a little bit more about these columns. Very simple. I guess the last traded value, the liquidity of the stock, the previous close, and the year-to-date movement in percentages. The last trend triggered for that stock, bearish or bullish, indicated by the arrow, and the date at which it triggered, and the value at which it triggered, the delta zone value, the blue line we saw on the chart. We have some other TA information here, a measurement of TA index, which is a measure between plus or minus 100, which is measured by the 10 indicators we use, and we have the duration, how long that particular, we have a date, and we have the duration, how long since that date. So, for example, A2M has been in the bullish mode for 209 days. It was indicated as bullish at 177. It's now sitting at 326. And the strength, which is another short-term indicator, which measures the direction of the EMA's crossovers, ranging between +2 and -2. And again, if I want to take away any bearish out of that list, I can filter those. And the last filter I'm going to apply is the duration, and I'm going to use the new range filter. So I can say range between 0 and 20 days. We want to see the latest in this sector. And we now have, I'll highlight it again for you, we now have a total of 27 assets out of 1900, which is a much more meaningful number to look at, stocks to look at. We can now very easily select all these because it's under 40, and 40 is the maximum we can select to put in a watch list, and we can add them to a new watch list, like so. Add to a new watch list, not to my watch list, and we can name this new alerts. Okay, here we go, it's there, and we can add that. So that's how easy it is to create a watch list with the stocks that you filter. Filters can be applied in many ways, and another way of and we clear those filters having created that watch list is to type the stocks you want in the search box, and you can type as many as you like. For example, we can just put a few here. Maybe if I did it in capitals might be better, so you can all see. That's another mining stock. Let's do financial and something from the utilities. Okay, so I put 4 stocks in here, spaced out with a space between them, and again you can see the same information about the specific stocks you're looking for and what direction they're moving. We'll discuss this new column we've created, which is the new categories and what they mean very soon. But I guess just want to show you in this stage that you can actually find the stock you want very easily by typing the code, and the information you get here is again similar information about the time of the alert, the value of the alert, the current price, and how long it's been in that direction. Now if we were to select these and add them to a watch list and add to a new watch list again, and I just want to show you, I'll call this temp 1, okay, and we want to go and see the same information from a watch list, and just want to show you how it differs, temp 1, from the information we saw in Explorer. We've got some extra columns here, and we can actually see now the predictive nature of the platform, showing us the next change of direction. In other words, if we look at the top one, APA turned bullish on the 2nd of March at 8.50. It's currently sitting at 9.79, and it's predicting that the trend will only turn bearish currently if the price drops below 8.95. I guess the information here is the same. We've got an extra column here telling us that we are plus 9% away from the current change in trend, and if we have taken that position at 8.50, we are 13% in a gain. I guess we measure negative positions in a gain too, because if we've taken the short in these positions here, this is the difference from the actual signal to the actual current price, and it's positive if we follow the short in that direction. So we move on to categories, and which is the exciting bit about what we want to show you today. And let's go back to equities so we can get the full exposure of all the assets. We clear the sorting filters that we've left there from the last time we visited, and now we have this column again with the filter allowing us to access some of the categories that we have. I just want to briefly take you to a slide to explain these categories before I take you further. Okay. All right, so we've created, we originally developed 3 categories, trend reversals, which represents the weekly scans we do, finding stocks that have had an annual low followed by a bullish alert. The EMA crossings, which represent the exponential moving average crossings, and we do 3 type of measurements for short, medium, and long-term crossings. We look at EMAs for 7, 13, 26, 48, and 96 periods. And I guess the important one is the 48 period. It's the most commonly used. It provides the best results from all our testing that we have done. And then we looked at the value opportunities, which is a category of stocks that is published by Calkine, but we only publish the bullish alerts in this particular category. If you want to see all the recommendations, we publish a list of those stocks and the values at which they were recommended separately, and we'll show you how to get to those. But in this particular category, we only publish the bullish alerts from that list. The new categories we created are the major stock indices, which is the page we've already shown you, giving you easy access to those indices so you can very quickly have a look at their trends. We've created the Edidos Select Trades, and we've split them into the 2 categories, the active and the non-active. Active being the current trades and past trades, and we'll keep them for as long as we can to ensure that people that are still in the trade or want to know what happened to that trade, they can still access that the Edidos chart information for that. So that is the categories we've created. In going with these categories, some of these categories since March, late February, March, and now we're making these charts live available to you. When we first started these charts, we are just pictures of the images of the charts rather than live. You can actually zoom in and zoom out and access the full information that we have established on these charts. In this area, we've done all the work. Let's go and have a look at what these mean on the charts again. Okay, so we can actually select these categories now using the filter. I'll show you again. We use the filter and we select one of these categories at a time. We can use red, blue, pink, light green, and light blue. So let's go to the red category, and we can see that if we put a mouse over it, it's select trades that are non-active. So if we want to make a list out of those, we can now select all and mark to a new watch list, and we can say non-active trades and add to a new watch list. So we now have a list just like my list that have non-active trades. You may notice that some of the red dots also have a blue dot, means they are active. These are the stocks that we have reviewed in the last week. They still stay on that list until the following week. So I guess we can have a look at some of these stocks and see what they mean. So just view at the charts and see what information. This is your plain chart that you have when you come to your screens, unless you have other drawings on your chart. You can create anything you want using the menu, or you can go to our Edidos chart by clicking on that toggle switch. And what we have here is it's a stock that we published on the 5th of March with an entry range, a stop loss range, and a profit range indicated by the support and the resistance. This particular trade didn't go too well, did it? It actually, this is VTG Group, a company in the telecommunications sector. After some announcement, it broke straight through the support line and it triggered a stop loss at 287. So I guess a good reason why we should have stop losses. I guess the stock has unfortunately dived down to about $1 from trading at around about $3 and had a potential of getting up to the previous resistance line. So in this trade, we kept our losses to a minimum by having a stop loss, a very tight stop loss at that. Let's look at some other stocks in this group that are no longer active, and then we'll look at some active trades. Okay, so we can look at Transurban, Road Toll People. This looks like a bit of a better story. We'll look at the editors charts, and here we can see, and I should explain what those markers mean as well. I guess the E for entry, S for stop loss, and P for profit taking. The fact that you have a yellow inner part means that has triggered, where the white part has not triggered as yet. So we took this particular trade on the 26th of February. We publicized this trade. We looked at the minor support line. It has broken through the downtrend, started finding momentum to the upside. It crossed our DMA line. We had enough a potential for reward to the next resistance, so we took this trade on that day, and it has provided us with some good results, and we exited this trade just a number of days ago over the last week at a good profit, and we'll look at those results very soon. Just want to look at a few more in this area, I guess, to give you an idea. Macmillan Shakespeare. We look at the editor's charts again, and again providing us with additional information. Here we had a downtrend. We broke through the upside. We had a signal of the bullish trend. We took it a little bit late. We formed a support. It normally retraces back. It didn't retrace, so we have not triggered this trade. This trade is still sitting without a trigger, and of course it ran away from us. We did not chase this trade, and therefore the trade is no longer valid. We've marked this trade that this trade is invalid. We still leave the information in there for people to see that this is one of the trades that we published that did not trigger and has not yet reached this potential either. But we'll look at again a few more. And what else can we look at? Let's look at the gem trade. Okay, in the childcare centres, I guess when we looked at this trade, it looks a bit complex here, but we had a downtrend with a break to the upside at this point. We formed some support, some consolidation, and on the next break we took the trade. I guess we had a very tight area to move with, but we did take the trade, and we did exit the trade at a profit at the resistance level. It just barely made just above resistance. I guess it hit $4.19 is the high we got on that day. Looking at my values on this side, when I point my mouse on a particular bar, and we exited at 4.8 to 4.12 range. We took the profit, so we would have taken the profit at the 4.08, and subsequently through some other announcements, the price dropped significantly and down to finding some consolidation around this level. Actually, it's breached this level substantially, but it's bounced back up. It might be time to look at that for a new opportunity against when these lines start moving to the upside, and certainly at this stage it's still below our DMA line, so it's still not a possible trade. We need to look at this trade turning around, which may take some time. Okay, I've got any more trades to look at this area. We'll look at one more. We'll look at CSL. An editor's select trade setup that was published on the 26th of February. We took the trade after this downtrend and this breakthrough the line. We took the trade significantly late at a range between $117 to $118, and we had a price target of, we didn't have resistance, we didn't have a high, so we had to use an arbitrary figure, 10-15%, and I guess when you do that, you may not want to put a stop loss. You may want to have a trailing stop, I guess, but this particular trade triggered. We formed some consolidation points along the way, and it did trigger at I guess 132 exit, which is the lower part of that. We would exit when we hit the first part of the range, unless it gave through to the upside. As you can see, the price has actually came down to 129 here, So if you had a trailing stop, that would have represented about a 5-6% drop. So I guess even a trailing stop would have triggered. We've taken the profit at 132, a good trade to be in. I guess he may still run on, but this needs to be looked at as a new trade. Let's look at the criteria that we do look in these trades. It's very important to understand that, and then we'll look at the performance of all these trades. So just want to show you the criteria that we look. We look at three major conditions. I guess we use ascending triangles or ascending channels and a bullish break past resistance indicated by this entry point here. We look at the risk just below that resistance once it's broken through, and we look at the values of the risk and reward ratio to ensure that they're at least 2 times the reward to risk ratios. And we've marked those in our charts. We look at a few more conditions. We look at I guess channels with a high enough range between support and resistance, where the price fluctuates between high and low. We'll look at the bounce from the support line, and if our scans meet this criteria, then we'll look at these trades provided they have sufficient reward to risk. And the last one we do look at is descending triangles or descending channels. I guess descending showing by the price movement on the downside, finally breaking through to the upside. So a bullish breakout of this channel. We expect some retracement occasionally. Sometimes it runs off and we miss it, but we expect some retracement. We try to get into this area here with a minimal risk, with an exit point back at the resistance line, and I guess the previous resistance, and the new resistance becoming a new target. So that's the three conditions we look at from the charts, and that's what we have shown you on the actual live chart. So let me go back to this live chart again, and I guess in this one we're looking at before, there's the breakdown from this descending channel maybe, and we're looking at the trade at that point, maybe a little bit late. We could have taken the trade back here. Okay, just let's look at the performance of this. We published the performance of all these trades, and easy access to you. If you go to TA Talk and under TA Charts, you see that not only we published the performance under this PDF file or spreadsheet, and I'll explain that in a minute, but we actually publicize the actual list of stocks. If I go into the trend reversals, for example, not only you've seen them in the actual by the dots marked in the column, by the categories, we actually demonstrate that on the 3rd of June, for example, this is the list of stocks that we have. This is the new list that was added, and these are the stocks that were eliminated from the previous week, and the previous week's stocks are sitting at the bottom on the 27th. Highlighted in blue are the ones that are also belong to the editor select trade setups, which we just shown you. And I guess the graphs are no longer in this section, the graphs are live. But we just go back, and again, all three categories are listed. If you're looking to see all the value opportunities, which I guess, as I said before, and we'll just quickly look at those, we only publish the bullish ones, but if you want to see the ones that are awaiting for bullish alerts that are currently sitting in a negative trend, we have a full list of those as well. I guess we do the hard work here. We actually find the stocks, we do the scans, we analyze, find the EMA crossings, we identify the trend lines, and we identify the support and the resistance lines. So you know, the work is done for you. So it's easy access. It's a good point to start looking for opportunities within this. And let's go back to looking at the performance, and let me just make this a bit bigger for everyone to see. We'll just try and fill the screen if we can. Okay, so we have started taking these trades, and I'll use my pen to highlight some things on this page. We started taking these trades as from late February, as I said earlier. We are now sitting down to the 37 trades excluding 3 which were removed because they did not trigger, and I'll mark those. What is my third removed? Okay, those 3 trades did not go any further. As you can see here, we highlight in red the ones that did lose us money. The blue are the trades that gain us money. We actually have the entry target, stop loss, exit, and the profit target for each one of those before we enter the trades. In this particular exercise, we allocate $10,000 per trade, and was last reviewed on the 3rd of June. We look at the price and the gains. If we had any dividends, we add the dividends to that to give us the full return. Let me just close this because I want to show you the actual on this side here. I want to show you the actual returns. Despite the number of reds and blues you see here, the actual returns are much favoring the blues and the wins. Right now we have let me move this out of the way so we can see what we're marking. We have a total of 10 active trades, and we reduced the number of active trades during the month of May. We'll be in the process of increasing these trades by the end of June, increasing exposure to the market again. We had 8 winning trades and 2 losses. The winning trades out of the current values active trades currently sitting at 5,000 gains. The losing trades are sitting at minus $167. If we look at the trades that we've exited, that's the trades that are marked. We have 10 winning trades and 11 losing trades, and so it's but the results are $18,000 for the winning trades, $8,500 for the losing trades. The total, I guess, let's mark a different color here. The total return is the sum of the current active trades and the exited trades, giving us a total return of $14,500 over 42 days as of the weekend, representing a total return of 4.6, or on an annualized basis of 40.9. So that's pretty good results, considering May is not a good month to be in the market. So we are, I guess, when we see some of these stocks and their performance, we've done relatively well. Let's look at the actual stocks that we exited in the last week and those results. So I guess we're looking for last week's results is exits. So we're looking for 1st of June, 29th of May, and there should be one more trade, 2nd of June down here. So we're looking at the results for TCL, APA, Fisher & Paykel, and Boral. Okay, maybe we should be looking at the charts to get an idea, but I guess 12.1%, 12.5%, 17% for Fisher & Paykel over 83 days. We should mark the days as well. So looking at those numbers, okay, just reading it out to you. TCL entered on the 26th of February, held for 94 days, exited on the 1st of June with a profit of 12.1%, that's $1,200 on a $10,000 outlay. APA Group entered on the 5th, sorry, my entry is down here, that's my recommendation date, that's the actual day I entered it. Entered on the 6th of March, held for 85 days, exited on the 1st of June with a profit of 12.5. Fisher & Paykel entered on 6th of March, held for 83 days, exited on 29th of May for a profit of 17%. And the last one, last week, we exited Boral after holding that for 38 days, exited on the 2nd of June with a profit of 16.7%. Okay, not every trade is a profitable trade, but you can see that the difference between the profits and the losses, that we have a far more profits than we have losses, and we cut our losses. Yeah, sure, we got some bad ones. I guess one of the bad ones we got was Mustang Resources. We did that twice, and both times we failed to get a result, incurring actually some significant losses in those two. Okay, so I guess if you exclude some of those bad decisions we've made, we have some good results. Let me close this. We'll now look at the new trades for the week. And last week we entered ORE, triggered at 358, triggered on the top end of our range, and we've entered that on the 29th of May. I guess from 358 the price jumped within a day or two. Over the weekend it was sitting at 381. I'm not quite sure what it is at the moment, but it's pretty significant within a day or two to be up 6.3%. From the other ones we've entered this week, this week we've entered 3 trades, the last 3 trades here, OFX, Superloop and BWP Trust. OFX into I guess foreign exchange services, CSL are into fiber optic infrastructure, and BWP commercial properties. They do the Bunning warehouse leasing, I guess. Now we've identified those stocks, and we'll look at the charts in a minute. And I guess from the 3 we've published on the weekend, and we do this on a weekly basis, one of them triggered. I think Superloop triggered is not on this list because obviously this would have happened on a Monday. This hasn't been updated as yet. So we've entered Superloop. OFX moved upwards, so we've missed out on that by a few couple of cents. It may still come back. We'll keep an eye on it. BWP is still not entered. So we have 3 trades and 1 from the previous week. So we have a total of 4 new trades in a matter of a week. Okay, so let me take you to the charts. Okay, we're going to go to the Explorer. That's why we're going to get them. And we're going to change the category here. We're going to go select trades active, and we're going to say select and add to watch list. And we're going to say new active trades. So we've got a new category to look at. I prefer watching the stocks from the watch list, so rather than from the Explorer. And if I look at these categories now and look at the stocks we talked about, first of all, let's look at the stocks that just come out. It hasn't come off this list as yet, but we've looked at. We'll go through the full list. Okay, and we'll put Darius charts back on. And this is our Fisher and Paykel trade. We just exited. It went past, and I guess if we look at if there's any more, there's no more resistance. So I guess it's blue sky above that level. It's reaching a new high. So I guess this is again another one that could have been done with a trailing stop. We decided to take the trade, the profit out of the trade. The other one was I guess APA. And again, an interesting trade with a fairly good profit over that period, 12% over 85 days. Hit resistance. It's sitting at that level now. I guess we're out of the trade. We don't need to look at this until unless it breaks through resistance again, and we look at a new trade opportunity. Very quickly look at the other 2 we exited. TCL, Transurban. Again, good timing on the entry. Got the rally. Got to the resistance on the second attempt, and got past resistance in the last couple of days. Which it's interesting that the market is actually showing some very bullish signs from the very first couple of days of June. Not from the I guess, the banking or mining sector, but from some of the other mid caps and smaller caps. And the other one was, this is the full list of the current trades. The last one in our list we had was BLD or something, BLD, plural. Okay. We just hit the actual. He actually didn't actually touch resistance, but it actually did trigger the exit at 695. So I guess this trade may still carry on, and I guess there's a second resistance up at a higher level, so it may still get to 730. So we are keen to take profit out when we hit those targets and look for new trades. There's certainly plenty of trades to look at. There's no shortage of those. And if we can make that sort of percentage in every trade, 12%, we're more than happy to take the trade and look for a new one in such a short time. Most people wait 12 months to get that sort of return. Okay, let's look at the new trades for the week very briefly. ORE from late the previous week and see where they are sitting. Okay, I'll bring it, put it more in view of everybody. So we have the trade just started. Okay, we have a support, a stop loss at a minor support level, certainly below the DMA line. We've entered the trade on the upside. We just wait to see this trade develop. Early days. Interesting to note that ORE is one of the most shorted stocks in the market, and yet we are looking at a bullish side of it. I guess people may like to short stocks that have potential to do well. Interesting. Okay, so we look at current ones, OFX, Osforex, and look at why we've made that trade. And as you can see, we had the downtrend. We've broken a bullish breakout to the upside from this resistance line. We're sitting right here. Our support, a stop loss sitting at the support line, the minor support line. I guess if you're a longer term, you could have put it a bit further down to this major support line. We don't want to lose that much, so we prefer to look at previous. I mean, if this particular price took a dive, we will have to bridge the TMA line, the resistance line, and then previous lows to get to that level. So there's a fair bit of support in that level, as you can see with the price movement. We expect this to climb, and certainly a long way to the target. Early days on these ones. Okay, the next one was Superloop, which is CSL, CLC, back to front, SLC. My apologies. SLC. Again, very similar downtrend, broke from the downtrend from this descending triangle, support line form. Again, meets the criteria, good reward ratio. So this is one that we entered yesterday, just made the grade by a couple of cents. I don't know how it's performing today. And very quickly look at the others, and I think we are running out of time. So we'll try and keep it very brief, and we'll wrap up with some more comments. We have BWP Trust is the last one we took this week. Very similar again. We have not actually entered the trade yet, but you can see the reasoning, the break up to the upside. You can see the target. There's certainly one more layer of resistance to get to before we get to the second target, and the values are shown clearly. I guess this is what all our members see every week, and it's a tool that it's taken us some time to develop. We've been working at this for more than 3 years. I guess we got it to a level that we are very happy with the performance, the way it's shaping up. We're very happy to share all the information that we do every week. I guess that's what has driven us in the first place. We do this work in the first place. Why not share it with everybody else, and so everyone can get the benefit? So I guess we offer you the three different groups of trend reversals, EMA crossings, value opportunities, and we also have the editor's charts with the specific select trades examples that we identify entry and exit points, and we monitor their performance. So I guess the only other thing we haven't shown everybody is, if you want to get emails of all these every day, go to your settings and highlight which strategy you want to receive, read about the strategies in a help section, and make sure that you save. If you want to get the flex strategy, for example, you save that so you can get your daily email reports. I guess that's all I wanted to cover today. I guess we've run out of time very quickly. If you are not a member, please look at a 14-day free trial. If you are a member, we'll continue to have more. We have a lot more topics to cover with our members. There's a lot more educational material to be found on the learning center of our site, which is accessed through this area. Let me just close that. So please look at our learning center and all the topics we cover. There's a lot of material there to help, and we welcome all your feedback. If we're unable to answer any of your questions today, we'll try to email you more details, and we'll try and put the webinar recording online in the next 24 to 48 hours. That's all from me. Thank you very much for attending.